welcome back to Squidward's house. It's very untidy in here. I don't know what he's been up to, but he really needs to clean his act up, I say. Because, boy...
Sonic, you sure this is the right way?
I saw Shadow and Eggman head this way.
Yeah, but they're not a GPS.
But it's so spooky here.
Maybe that's the ghost of Shadow we saw earlier.
Woo! Stop it, Knuckles.
Okay, make up your mind, Sonic Team. Is Tails supposed to be this smart, wise scientist who can craft all these gadgets and things? Or is he a 5-year-old? You know, like, make up your mind. Because right now you want to have it both ways, and I don't think it works too well.
What? What's going on?
The castle is flipped upside down.
Whoa! Wowie zowie! Who could have thought this would happen? So, I guess in some way it's kind of fortuitous for us that as we enter October, also known as the month of spooks, that we'd enter into the spooky world. Definitely did not plan that, but that seems to be how the schedule is landing. But I want to take the opportunity now to talk about something which has really kind of been prevalent on my mind these past few weeks. And that is this amazing little thing that everyone loves to hear about, which is called creator burnout. Now, the thing with creator burnout is that you would think that that only exists for the higher-ups, the people who are well-known and really popular on YouTube, because they're the ones who talk about it the most. There's so many, like, big names on YouTube who make these long videos about how hard it is at the top and how they've just been really not feeling it since they got big and successful and how strenuous it is. But here's a twist. Speaking as someone who's now been trying to do this YouTube game for nearly a decade and has seen no real results from it, but has gone through all of high school and college just making YouTube videos, I must say, it's not exclusive to the popular people. You can actually be very unknown and completely anonymous and also get burnt out. And I want to say that that's kind of sort of what's been happening with me recently. I don't think it's like sort of burnt out on the show, because for the most part I still enjoy making this show. But YouTube and actually the internet in general, I've just started to get really tired with. I don't know what it is, but like nowadays, anytime I like get onto social media or I get onto YouTube or whatever, I just get real depressed. And I don't know why that is, but it's like I just always get this like feeling in the pit of my stomach that as I, continually make content for an online audience and I do all this stuff, it just feels like something I'm disconnected from. And it's like one of those things where I start to get really pardon me. And it's like an odd sensation, because it's one of those things where as I spend more time, like, essentially getting news and updates and social stuff through the digital media, I just get really aggravated. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's a societal thing. I don't know if that's just me personally. But, like, I'm finding, like, say, for example, there are new creators who I can find on YouTube who I really enjoy their content and I think they're great. But, like, at the same time, when I hear them talk, it annoys me or it just makes me depressed. And I don't know why that is. It's nothing against them as people. But just, like, I get really frustrated by, I don't know if it's outlook, I don't know if it's generational, I don't know if it's whatever it is. I don't want to get too overtly political here. But it is one of those things where just, like, internet culture, I'm just kind of done with it, I think. And I don't know how to really relate to that. Because it's one of those things where I think I'm just about ready to, like, call it on social media and just be like, no more Twitter, no more Facebook, no more nothing, just completely get social media out of my headspace, focus completely on being in the physical world, and getting your info and your social experience through reality and through being around people in life. But then I feel like that's not valid anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where I kind of want to be able to cut the internet out of my life for a little bit and work purely as just a content creator and do nothing but just make the videos, and then they go out on YouTube and I like do a little plug or promotion and I go like, hey, I want to just let you know I made a video, right? But then not have to remain on the internet, just to like turn away from it for a while and just go back to doing the things I like doing, you know, like listening to records or like hanging out with friends and playing games. But I recognize too that it's one of those things where my generation doesn't do the things that I would want to do. Because I find more value in being in a room with someone than I do texting them on the phone or Instagramming them or doing whatever. I find very little substance and value in social media, I've come to realize. And I want to be able to break away from it, but I feel almost as if that's, you know, impossible to do. Because the people of my age, where they are responding and talking to each other is on these social media platforms and on these websites, and where they're getting their media is all through Twitter timelines and Instagram posts and Snapchat messages or whatever those are. And I just resent that. And I resent that method of communication because I think that there's something, you know, like toxic about it, because I think it there's no room for nuance. I think that's the thing, and I've said this I think maybe before in person but not in a video. The internet is good for many things, but it's not good for nuance. Everything has now become black and white, and you know, I think that possibly plays into it. The fact that everything on the internet is incredibly like driven to an extreme. You know, it was one of those things. I probably have talked about this, but I'll relay it. There was a scenario like a couple of years ago when I decided for a week to just completely cut out all social media. I deleted Twitter from my phone. I deleted Facebook from my phone, and all those other things. I just focused entirely on just what was happening in the world around me as I was living it. And what was fascinating is that, you know, I'll go on, you know, Twitter or something like that, and it feels like it's the end of the world, or it feels like everything is just exploding around me, and dear God, how can I live in this universe that's so dreadful and awful, and I can't relate to anything, right? But then I would get off of Twitter for like a week or whatever, and I would be like totally fine and realize that the world around me is moving on, and you know, these things that we blow up on the digital mind space, like, really is not playing too prevalent a role, or maybe it is and we just don't know it, but it's like one of those things where the internet has now enlightened us into, like, things which we never would have given any thought to before, but then it also has accentuated, like, every... I don't know. It's like, for me at least, it accentuates negative emotions now. To be spending all my time online and doing nothing but internet stuff. And just focusing in on editing and making videos, and then in my downtime, like, reading up on people's timelines or whatever. And of course, all these things, all these, like, Twitter posts or whatever, are written by their visceral reactions. You know, people aren't, like, doing rewrites and drafts of a Twitter tweet, you know, or whatever they're doing, or they're not like doing reshoots of Instagram posts or whatever they're doing. They're putting down their visceral thoughts and reactions. And the thing with doing that is that when you have everything in your head, all the most visceral gut reactions being the default of what you want to say and what you're leaving behind as like written word or whatever, it gets very, like, extreme. Everything gets ratcheted up to, like, the most intense hyperbolic level. And it's really alienated me. I must admit that. I've become incredibly alienated from my own self and my own sense of self-worth. Just because of, like, articles or things or offhand comments I read from people on social media. And it's not a fun time, I have to be honest with you. So it's like one of those things where I would really like to be able to pull away from that in my life. And yet, I feel like that's impossible to do, because then, what are you running the risk of when you do that? Are you, like, really then part of the world, or have you then come to be part of the modern age, or can you even be part of the modern age when you are outside of the realm in which the young people are living in? Because now the format of discourse is social media. Now the format of discourse is that which is online. And all the game-changing, in quotes, content that everyone loves so much is all coming out on the YouTube or on whatever else people look at. And I just think to myself, like, what is there? What is being left behind here? Is there actually, like, because like, every media format has its faults. I don't think the internet is flawless. And what is being created out of this? But this, like, hyperbolic realm of people living in the extreme all the time. And I don't mean extreme in that, like, 90s Phil radical way, but I mean it in a, like, just, there is no room now for, like, I think Lindsay Ellis pointed this out, where she said, it's usually not the case of thing bad, thing good, it's thing exist, like, and this is just, like, media criticism which she was giving, and I agree with that. It's like, for me, I live in a mindset where I think everything has a gradient to it, The world is not defined by a monochromatic black and white. It is shades of gray and different sort of lighting and colors and all those different things. There's a world around us, and it's not defined by a plus or minus, binary code. And I don't mean just gender binary, I mean all things, This is sort of this is my sort of philosophical hour, and I apologize for that, because I know that this is supposed to be a comedy show, and I haven't been really given much of the comedy in this episode. But these are the things which are on my mind right now, and I want to talk about them, because they've been on my mind for a while, and I keep searching around for an answer, and I don't know what the answer is. Because a part of me wants to feel like, okay, so why do I think that, the world is exploding whenever I go online? It's because we're dealing with, like, this social crisis and this social crisis and this issue in the world and this issue in the world, and we're trying to develop a new societal set of morals and ethics and all these different things, and it just feels like, we're trying to reinvent what polite society is. That seems to be where the millennial headspace is going. But then, I feel the world is kind of, we've developed what I think is a distorted sense of what the public is and what the world is. Because, like I say, it was fascinating when I got off of social media for a week. I suddenly, and this will sound cold and callous, but it's true, like, the more humanitarian part of me, like, sort of got put on the back burner, and all the things that were taking up my thought headspace was not like, oh, what's the great economic disparity of now, or what's the big, like, whatever, the common things that people, like, seem to talk about, at least as far as I can see. But it was just like, have I been talking to this person enough, and am I really happy with where I am in my job, and, like, who should I contact on the phone? Maybe I could call this person, we can go out and do something. Like, this sort of real world human experiences which had defined, say, my early childhood, where I was like, you know, when I didn't grow up with the internet, and it was like you would live life with those around you. It seemed to me that that was more helpful to the self, you know, like that was one of those things, like it felt to me like getting off of social media for a bit really made me more finely attuned to my own sort of self-care and aware of my own self-worth. And it was a healthy experience, but I walked away from it thinking, well, is that how I should be living? Should I be living for just myself and only concerned about what I do? Or should I be trying to think about the world as a grander whole and like the needs and wants of others? You know, how much of your own life do you give purely to yourself, and how much do you allow the ego to drive your decisions and your choices, and how much do you then give to the greater world around you? And I don't know what the answer to that is, and it's a question that I have had on my mind now for years, and I keep searching for the answer, and I don't know what it is, and it just feels to me like it's something I really need to do for myself. But anyway, that was a long philosophical talk. If you have any answers to those questions, be sure to leave them in the comment down below. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, ding the bell to be notified about when new videos come out. Smash the like button, share the video with your friends. On the screen you'll see more episodes of Gaming Weekend and more episodes of Serenade or Caffeine. See you all next time. Bye bye.